What's up guys, Dan here from Kilowatt Auto. So I recently went on another long road trip from Western Pennsylvania and this time down to South Carolina. The total round trip was about 1,100 miles and it gave me the opportunity to really use Navigate on Autopilot for an extended period of time. And in doing so, I was able to identify 5 key areas where I think there's need for a lot of improvement. So I want to break this video up into 2 specific parts. So in the first half, we'll talk about those 5 specific areas that I identified. And then in the back half, I just want to give a very high level, quick discussion on my thoughts regarding where Tesla's current autonomy is and where the cars need to go in order to achieve true level 5 autonomy. Before we get started though, if you're new to the channel, I typically document the experience of owning a Tesla Model 3, as well as track the car's progression to full self-driving. So if that's something that you'd be interested in, make sure you get subscribed and also check out the channel trailer in the description down below. I also always post my referral code in the description down below, so if you decide you'd like to order a Tesla, you can use that referral code and that'll get you 1,000 free supercharging miles. So with all that said, we'll jump right into things. The first area that I think there's definitely some need for improvement in terms of Navigate on Autopilot is changing out of the passing lane. And with one of the more recent updates, Tesla added the ability for you to select whether you want the car to automatically move in or out of the passing lane. And in my case, I always have that feature turned on. And really the improvement that I'm looking to see is a more balanced approach to moving in and out of the passing lane. So a lot of times it seems like the car is being a little bit erratic in terms of its time frame when it moves actually out of the passing lane. So in some cases, it'll move over to pass a car, and then just as soon as it passes it, the blinker's already on and it's trying to merge back over when it's honestly less than even a full car length ahead of the passed vehicle. Other times, it'll move into the left lane to pass a car, and then it'll take about 30 seconds or so to move out of the passing lane. Now, I'm not sure what other variables the car is looking at in terms of how quickly or how slowly it moves in or out of the passing lane, but in my experience, and especially with using this feature more, it honestly seems kind of arbitrary. So this is an area where I'd like to see a more balanced approach to how the car moves in and then out of the passing lane. Another thing which I think should be added to Navigate on Autopilot, and even Autopilot in general, is for the car to adjust its lane position based on road debris. So whether there be roadkill, trash in the road, a tire, what have you, a pothole, I think the car should be able to recognize this and adjust its lane position so it's not driving right through it. So in the footage today, you can see that the car basically ran right over the 2x4, which is in the right portion of the lane. It didn't recognize it whatsoever, just ran it right over. In today's case though, it didn't cause any damage to the car, so not really a big deal, but for other larger debris like tires or other pieces of trash in the road, it definitely could be pretty hazardous if the car is not able to recognize these and adjust its lane position accordingly. The third area where I'd like to see some improvement with Navigate on Autopilot is the car's speed when it's passing other vehicles. So this is not currently a feature that is available, but I think it would be really helpful if when the car moves into the passing lane, it adjusted its speed to pass the car on the right a little bit more quickly. So for me, what I think would be useful is a setting in the Navigate on Autopilot menu where you can set a passing speed. So for example, if I have my speed set at 70 miles per hour on the highway, the car's very good at recognizing a slower moving car up ahead and then moving into the left passing lane. And at this point, as long as I have that set speed activated in my settings menu, the car would ramp up, say 3 miles or 5 miles per hour to pass the car a little bit quicker and not cause traffic to collect behind you as you're trying to pass the car on the right. The fourth area where there's some room for improvement is how Navigate on Autopilot takes on and off ramps. So a lot of times as the car approaches an exit ramp, it'll take the exit without any issue, but then the speed will fluctuate pretty erratically. So I'd like to see some more linear accelerations and deaccelerations when the car is taking the ramps, only because it creates a pretty significant hazard if the car is going from 75 or 70 miles per hour down to 30 in a matter of a few hundred feet. Most drivers aren't expecting you to slow down so significantly when the car takes the off ramp, and really it should be a much gentler slowdown or gentler acceleration depending on whether you're exiting or entering the highway. So my fifth and final improvement to Navigate on Autopilot might be a little bit nitpicky, but in general I'd simply like the car to be more aware of other vehicles around it. And specifically, this becomes more relevant, especially when the car is moving into the left lane to pass other vehicles. It honestly doesn't seem to take into account whatsoever if there's already a car in the left lane that's maybe 250, 500 feet back that's clearly moving faster than I am. So it'll initiate that lane change and maintain its current speed, and now the driver behind me either has to slow down or pass me in the right lane, and the Tesla doesn't seem to care at all. So again, this is something that I've talked about in the past, and I've hit on a couple times in previous videos, but I think the driver etiquette of Navigate on Autopilot and Autopilot in general is pretty lacking at this point. It doesn't drive how I drive for obvious reasons, because it is a computerized system. The artificial intelligence component of it doesn't seem to really account for other vehicles and other drivers on the road in the sense of being courteous to them. So this is, again, it's kind of nitpicky, but it's an area where I think there is definitely some room for growth and improvement down the road. So now that we've gone through those several areas where I think Navigate on Autopilot can be improved, I wanted to wrap things up by just a very brief, high-level discussion of the current state of Tesla's Autopilot system and its autonomy. And just to keep things in perspective, I'm a pharmacist, I'm not a computer programmer, I have no experience working with artificial intelligence, so I can't really even imagine how complex these systems are to develop and integrate into driving platforms. However, all I can offer you is my experience and my observations and give you my opinion on how these systems are currently operating. And from those observations and experiences in the first 9 months or so of ownership, I can tell you that the car is in a fairly primitive stage of still only being able to respond to immediate stimuli. So it's only looking at cause and effect, stimuli and response type situations. It doesn't really have any forethought, and it doesn't really apparently seem to have any memory of past experiences that make its decisions down the road any better than the ones that it was previously making. So I think to get to true level 5 autonomy, the cars are going to need to be much more reliant on artificial intelligence. The cars need to have forethought, so they're capable of anticipating different types of driving situations so they can be proactive rather than reactive to different occurrences which they might encounter on the road. So for example, oftentimes when there's an on-ramp coming onto the highway, the car will remain in the right lane and sometimes make it extremely difficult for other cars to merge onto the road. So if the car was capable of forethought, it would be able to recognize not only visually, but also with map data that there's an oncoming on-ramp. And in that case, it should move over into the left lane so other cars have an easier time of getting onto the highway. But clearly the car is not currently at that point yet. Oftentimes now it will remain in that right lane and fight with other cars as they try to merge onto the highway. And to be honest, in most cases when this happens, I'll usually turn Navigate on Autopilot off and just do the lane changes myself, because it's extremely frustrating for the car to put not only myself but other drivers in potentially hazardous situations as they're trying to move onto the highway. So with all of that said, I think it's pretty clear that there's still a lot of work that needs to be done for Autopilot. I'm optimistic though, and I know that Tesla will eventually get us there. I'm very skeptical though of the full self-driving apparently being feature complete by the end of the year. Even if that is the case though, I honestly don't believe that the cars will be capable of having forethought at that point, also having memory of past experiences so they're better able to handle future ones. But with all of that said, that's my take on some areas where Navigate on Autopilot can be improved, as well as the current state of Tesla's autonomy. If you enjoyed today's video, make sure you hit the like button so others have an easier time finding it, and also get subscribed if you haven't done so already so you don't miss any of my weekly videos. But with that said, thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.